Hi everybody. Today I'm here with another reading progress update video, but before I get started with my reading progress, I just need to make a few announcements. First of all, Matt and I have our art show coming up next week at Double House Arts, and we're pretty excited about it. Our theme this semester, for the first half of the semester, has been for the beauty of the earth in honor of Earth Day. So please come support us. We are located at 122 Spring Street in Portland. And it will be a great night, so come support your local artists. The next thing I wanted to say is that related to goals, I have been saying that I am going to be working more on my children's book that I was working on, and my goal is to start working on that again. In the past couple of months, I've been working on some fan fiction in the past couple of months, but that's wrapping up so I can focus on that. And I also spoke with my mother about our disability rights book at the college on last Thursday. The talk went really well, and as part of our talk, we talked to future teachers in the graduate program at USM, and I encourage future teachers to encourage their students to be creative in their expression of standing up for their rights. And I shared with them a poem that I wrote about fighting for disability rights, which I will share in a separate video. And also, my art teacher, Amelia, invited me to be in her play that is going to be in June. It's a medical drama. It's a one-act play, so it's only 45 minutes. It's going to be the weekend of Father's Day and the weekend after. I will post a video mention it in an upcoming video once I find out how much the tickets are going to be. And I think those are all of my announcements. So we have a lot of ground to cover today. The first book I wanted to talk about is North Woods by Daniel Mason. My sister read this book, and I do not remember if she liked it or not. I hope that she did, because I really liked it. It's a sweeping novel about a solitary house in the woods of New England, told through the lives of those who inhabit it across the centuries. A daring, moving tale of memory and fate. So yeah, this book reminds me of The Dutch House by Anne Patchett, as it's about a house going through the centuries. And with that book reminded me of the Hull House. This book is set in the middle of the woods, and I don't really know what state it's supposed to be in New England. Maybe it's Maine. It begins in Puritan times and then goes on and on in the centuries up until the present day, which I really liked. I liked the perspective. So this book is actually written from the perspective of the house that the people are living in, while the Dutch house is really told from the family's point of view, because the house has been in their family for many years and they're planning to sell it. So that's why it made me think of the Hull House, because at one point we were thinking of selling the Hull House, but now we're not going to do that anymore, which is good. So I gave this book 3.5 stars, so that's pretty close to 4. The next book is the final book in the Emily Wilde Encyclopedia of Fairies trilogy. This book series is so imaginative and creative. If you like whimsy and fairy tales, you will love this story. I loved the development of Emily and Wendell's relationship throughout the whole entire series, and their romance really gets heavier in this book. I just loved Heather Fawcett's writing. It was very engaging, and I gave this whole series, so each book got 4.5 stars. When I divided it by 3, it rounded out to 3. So it's a 3-star series, but each book in the series was 4.5. So this book was recommended to me last year from a video from These Lyrics and Lines, but I can't remember which video they mentioned it in. It was either a wrap-up from the spring or the summer. This book is called Evie Drake Starts Over. It's by Linda Holmes, and it's on my Gilmore Girls and Friends TBR. And it's set at a sleepy seaside town in Maine, so I love the seaside town vibes. I love the Maine setting, because that's where I'm from. And, so the main thing that stood out to me about this book, why I picked it for my Gilmore Girls TBR, is because the main male character in this book is named Dean. And that's Rory's boyfriend in the first 2 seasons of of Gilmore Girls. And I really liked the buildup of Dean and Evie's relationship. I thought they were a really sweet couple. This was the debut of a book by this author, Linda Holmes, and I loved her writing. Loved it. Can't wait to read more from her. The next book I read recently is called Good for a Girl, A Woman Running in a Man's World by Laura Fleshman. This is a memoir of a woman who runs in professional track and field, and she talks about like how she got interested in running, how she learned to deal with being on a team that was mostly dominated by men, and how she overcame those challenges. This book was on a friend's reading list that I found on Instagram representing Monica, and I think it's so this book is about running, but I think the theme of being in a man's world and being in a profession or a sport that mostly guys do. I mean, I think track and field is a sport for women and men now, but maybe several years ago it wasn't. And how this relates to Friends is in season 2, episode 21, the one with the bullies, which is one of my least favorite season 2 episodes of Friends. Monica is heckled by her coworkers because they think she's mean and they think she's bossy, and they just don't want to deal with her because she's a woman. So she hires Joey to come into her work to pretend to be someone who is doing a really crappy job who she has to fire. And I think that's a sweet thing that Joey does for Monica, but this episode is so stupid. I feel bad for Monica because she's bullied by her coworkers. I think that's a horrible situation to be in. If I was in that situation, I would have quit. But the other plot line in this episode that relates to bullying is Ross and Chandler are bullied by these random other guys from Central Park, and I haven't seen this episode in a while, so I don't remember what the exact issue is that they're getting bullied over. But their plotline is sort of stupid. Monica's is relatable because this whole episode is relatable for me because I was bullied as a teenager, not at my job, but for other reasons. Another book that relates to Monica is Heartburn by Nora Ephron. This is the second time that I have read this. I last read it at the end of December. I gave it 4.5 stars. This book is related to Monica because the main character, Rachel, is a food critic who is going through a divorce, and Nora Ephron wrote this book when she was going through her own divorce, which is pretty poignant. So this is kind of like a memoir, though she changes her name to another name. So it's not from her voice, it's from her character's voice. Her character's name is Rachel. And obviously, this book relates to Friends because it's about cooking, and Monica is a chef. And I gave Good for a Girl 4 stars and Heartburn 4.75 stars. The next reread that I'm doing for the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR is In Newege, which is the second book in the Love Life Farm series by B.K. Borson. I first read this whole entire series last year because my friend Kate introduced it to me. And in my reread, I am currently on chapter 8. And this book was selected for the Gilmore Girls and Friends TBR because of the small town setting that is similar to Stars Hollow. The next book is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I read this book last October during Halloween. It is about a girl who works in publishing, but she has to go home to her hometown because somebody in her family dies and she has to attend a funeral, and she's visited by the ghost of her dead publishing partner or something. So on the Friends list, Friends book recommendations that I found on Instagram, this book was on the list for Phoebe, and I think it makes perfect sense for Phoebe. There are 2 reasons why. One is the episode, season 2, episode 4, 5. I don't remember which episode number it is, but it's one of the earlier season 2 episodes where a runaway cat comes into Central Perk, and Phoebe thinks her dead mother is reincarnated in the cat, and Ross has to be the one to convince her that indeed her mother is not reincarnated in a cat. The rest of her friends are going along with it because they don't want to hurt her feelings, but Ross is more blunt about things. There is a fan theory that I read on the internet that says that Phoebe and Ross are both autistic. And given the personality traits I have seen from both of them throughout my rewatch of this series, I can definitely agree. I don't know who came up with this fan theory, but if you Google autistic characters in TV shows, or is such and such a character autistic, you will find information about this fan theory. The next reread that I did for this TBR is One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. Kathleen and I are buddy reading this for our Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR. How this is connected is in season 4, before she goes away to college, or when she's home for the summer at some point from college, she goes away to Europe for the summer with her grandma. I don't know if she actually goes to Italy, but this is about a European vacation. And the audiobook for this is narrated by Lauren Graham, and she did a fantastic job with the narration. It really put me into the scenery of Italy. This book is based on an actual real hotel that's in Italy, and it made me want to go to the hotel and see all of these places that this character saw. This book is about a girl named Katie who's in her 30s. She loses her mom to cancer, and her mom and her were supposed to go away to Italy on vacation before she died. She ends up going on a solo trip. And there's magical realism in this because I'm pretty sure that Katie sees her mother's ghost while she's on vacation. It's not specifically said, but it sounds to me like it's her ghost. And I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but I love the writing in this book. I love the setting. It makes me want to go back to Italy so badly and see a place of Italy I've never seen before, which is the coast of Italy that this book is set on, the Amalfi Coast, and as I just said, stay at this hotel. So this book was originally 4 stars, but I raised the rating up to 5 stars because Lauren Graham did such a great job with the audiobook narration. The next book I am rereading for this TBR is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I am rereading all of Emily Henry's previous releases in preparation for her new release that's coming out on the 22nd called Great Big Beautiful Life, which to me seems very similar in plot to The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So that book will be reviewed in a later video because I won't be reading that until closer to the beginning of May. But in my reread of People We Meet on Vacation, I'm on chapter 19, and there is going to be a Netflix movie coming out based on this book in July. So Kathleen and I will be doing a book to movie comparison of this book. I'm anticipating in September for the podcast. The next book that I'm currently reading is the Wicked graphic novel based on, this is the graphic novel that ties in with the Wicked movie that came out before Thanksgiving. And I am on page 84. The next book that I got out from the library recently is called Checkout 19. This was not recommended by anybody on YouTube. I just randomly picked it up off the adult fiction shelf. I have not started it yet, so I'm going to be starting it as soon as I finish filming this video. The next book I am reading is called Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. I feel like a couple of booktubers recommended this. I think Cindy did. Carrie Can Reads definitely may have. And I feel like Kayla at Books and Lala probably did it for her books that were published for Every Year She Was Born series. Let's see when this book was published. 1979. Okay, so this book obviously, I don't remember which video I saw this book reviewed in, but nonetheless, I am on page 52. The chapters in this book are not numbered. The next book that I am currently reading is called The Au Pair Affair by Tessa Bailey. I vowed after reading the ebook of Dream Girl Drama that I was done reading Tessa Bailey because her books are too smutty. But this is the second book in the series with Fangirl Down, which was a book I gave 3.5 stars to last year. So I decided to give it a shot. I am only on chapter 7, so I'm not very far into it yet. The next book was recommended through These Lyrics and Lines in their Books with Spring Vibes video that they came out with last week. This is Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. I gave this book 3.5 stars when I read it last year. I'm eventually planning to listen to the audiobook once I get it, once my hold list is not exceeded for audiobooks from the library. So I will listen to the audiobook soon, and I cannot wait to listen to the audiobook because it is narrated by Meryl Streep. The next book is the biography of Zora Neale Hurston, which is by Valerie Boyd. It is called Wrapped in Rainbows. And this was mentioned in a video that A Book Olive did about pairing fiction and nonfiction books together, and she paired this book with up with Zora Neale Hurston's book, Their Eyes Were Watching God, which I finished reading a couple of weeks ago because I got an anthology of Zora Neale Hurston books from the library. So that allowed me to read both Their Eyes Were Watching God and Moses, Man of the Mountain, which I reviewed in last week's video. So far in this book, I am on page 57. The next book was recommended to me in a video that's with Cindy recently posted. She did a whole wrap-up video catching up on books that she read last year that she never got around to reviewing because she got backlogged with videos. And I just could not get into this book. I feel like my opinion of this is very similar to that of All Fours by Miranda July. The writing was good, but the character was just so insufferable that I couldn't continue the book, and I DNF'd this at 120 pages. Which was, this book is only 203 pages, so I got halfway through it before I stopped reading. The next book is Convenience Store Women. I feel like I have seen this book recommended by Carrie Can Read and Jack Edwards, and I recently picked it up at the bookstore, and I can't wait to read it. I have not started it yet, by the way. The next book is The Soul of an Octopus. This is on my Ocean Animals TBR that I will be starting from May to July, but I think I'm going to start it a little bit early so I can be ahead. The next book that I'm going to be reading is a modern retelling of Emma by Jane Austen, which is called Emma of 83rd Street by Audrey Belezia and Emily Harding. And this is on the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR for the New York City setting. The next book I wanted to give progress on is The Dream Hotel. Since I last gave you an update on this book on Sunday, I don't think I have gotten too much farther along. I am on page 169, and the last time I gave an update, I was on page 120. The final book I borrowed from my mom, and I don't think she even knows that I borrowed it from her, so now she knows. This book is called The Red Tent. It's a historical fiction book that is set during the Bible times, and I saw this on a Women's History Month post that was on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. Women's History Month is over, so I kind of started this late, but I'm really liking it. Moses, Man of the Mountain is also set during the Bible times. That's by Zora Neale Hurston. And this book has a lot of poignant issues, especially when it comes to reproductive health issues. And it's really interesting to learn about how women in that time period were affected by things that are currently in the process of being taken away from us in the current day. So I am only on page 75. So I am really enjoying this so far, and I can't wait to read more. Thank you all for tuning in. Matt and I will be coming out with a video in a couple of weeks that is going to be wrapping up all of the movies and TV show episodes that we have been watching for the second half of March and beginning of April. So that will be up on his YouTube channel at around probably 3 or 4 p.m. We don't know of the time yet. So thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a good weekend, and I will be back at the middle part of next week with a new reading update for you guys. Have a great weekend.